People with weird, obscure jobs. What is your job and how did you get the job? I work in a lab where I raise moths. I got it by telling my lab partner that I love bugs and he hooked me up. I was a puppeteer for many years and I actually got that job from an ad in the classifieds. It cracks me up that there is a scene in Being John Malkovich where he tries to find puppeteer in the classifieds and fails. I'm a house manager for a family of 4. Basically I'm a female butler. I've worked for them for 14 years, starting as the kids' nanny. They're my second family, pretty much. I organize tradespeople, holidays, birthdays, daily meals, dinner parties, housekeeping. The list goes on. It's challenging at times but keeps me on my toes and I enjoy that. Do you manage staff or is it a one-woman army job? Pretty much a one-woman army. Our housekeepers recently left. One retired and the second resigned to spend more time with her family, so I've taken on their roles now as well. Long days but I love it. I basically organize their lives. They all call me head boss bitch, haha. I hope you got a pay increase now that you're doing 2 other people's jobs as well. If not, you should ask for it. You definitely deserve it. I most certainly did, and thank you. I don't know if this is obscure, but my boyfriend is a high-rise window cleaner. There are only 4 in our city. He loves his job. Sometimes when he is working, I will go to the city to the building he is cleaning and look up at him on the street. So cute. Edit. Only 4 high-rise window cleaners. We live in a small Canadian city. Also fun fact, one day I was in the city and he was on his lunch break. So he took me on the roof of the tallest building and fucked me doggy style looking over the city. That's sweet. I hope sometimes you can notice each other and wave. Concrete petrographer. I just started this month. I studied geology in college and now my job is to look at concrete using petrographic methods I learned at school and conduct ASTM tests to determine quality of concrete. Very interesting work because concrete is engineered rock and there's a lot more to it than you think. Misread this as concrete photographer. Yours is much more interesting. I literally went over this comment like 3 to 4 times and didn't know until I saw your comment. You may think that your job will get you nowhere, but remember, you are paving the way for future generations of concrete photographers. You know when you're watching a sports program and you see the little pop graphic in the corner, i.e., a baseball player's stats, or an advertisement for Easy Mac, or, stay tuned for Saved by the Bell at 9. Quote, yeah, that was me. I updated those graphics and uploaded them to Fox Sports. Since Fox Sports is a 24-hour channel, there's always one guy in the office 24 hours a day. Okay, that's super cool. Do you pre-create all the graphic? How much is done on the fly? I swear, there will be circumstances where a crazy situation happens, and then 10 seconds later there is some super relevant stat that comes up as a graphic. I clean grills for super rich people in Palm Beach. Even got to clean Michael Jordan's at one point, and it was recommended to me from a friend who was in sobriety with me after I got clean. We talking grills as in barbecue, or the other type, like $15,000 built into an outdoor kitchen grills. I work in a clinical lab where I get to play with baby sweat for a bit of my day. We are testing for chloride level. Increased chloride in sweat is one of the diagnostic markers for cystic fibrosis. I am a clinical laboratory scientist. Not all clinical labs perform this test, but I am lucky enough to work at a lab where we do a couple interesting low-volume tests. My job's not weird. I'm a welder, but what I do isn't very common. I build Virginia-class submarines. I used to work on a lavender farm. It's totally unrelated to my field of study and incredibly difficult in terms of manual labor. But man, was it a beautiful place. I tended to the plants, took care of goats, and did processing for the herbs and honey. My grandparents are farmers and so I grew up with mediocre knowledge of fieldwork and beekeeping. And when a friend's mom decided to start a business centered around lavender, she asked me to help out for the summer. I'm a potter. Not sure if that fits the bill for weird. I used to be the manager for a museum art school, and began taking classes there years ago. Eventually transitioned into being a full-time potter and pottery teacher. You're a potter, Harry. I used to cut pictures of wee-wees and ho-has off packaging of adult toys. All day every day. I got the job by being able to pass a drug test. The interview. Boss, can you pass a drug test? Me. Yes, boss. You sure? Because if you don't pass, I won't hire you. Me. I understand. Boss, if I pay for your piss test and you fail, I'll be mad. Me. I haven't smoked in like 3 months, don't worry. Did you keep all the cut-off ding-dongs to make sexy confetti? Our brand new sentence. So not job, but company, industry. I was their first marketing person. I worked at a company that specialized in phased array ultrasonic non-destructive testing. The technicians made a shit ton of money and got to work in crazy places like nuclear power plants in Canada and offshore oil rigs in Norway. They even worked on some of the NASA launching pads. I spent a year on a team reclassifying the Duke University library system from Dewey Decimal to Library of Congress. Had to learn like 4 different alphabets just to label them properly. Edit. Holy mother. Didn't think anyone would care. But I can explain a couple of things. 1. Duke University has one of the largest research libraries in the world with millions of books. In addition to the main library, we went through engineering, biology, art and divinity. There was also another main library on East Campus. The whole operation took about 2 years, I think. I was there from December 2006 to February 2008 when the project ended. 2. The Dewey Decimal System works perfectly well for small American libraries that cater to an English-speaking, Judeo-Christian populace. The Library of Congress system is more egalitarian and, perhaps more importantly, has unassigned sections for disciplines that have not yet been discovered. Large university libraries and other world-class collections are better served by the lock system, monsieur. 3. I don't quite remember the number of people on our team, but it was about 15 of us doing the physical labor. We were a company that did contract work for libraries. We mostly labeled books, scanned barcodes and reshelved. 4. The reason I learned those alphabets was because we had to meet production and the barcode sheets only used the Latin alphabet. Most of the time the barcodes on the book and the labels matched, but sometimes they didn't or were missing altogether, and then you'd have to waste precious time figuring out what was going on. I'd scope ahead when we were about to hit a section in another writing system to make sure I was prepared. I am diver. When I was 13 I started diving in the army. I did it, too. So I love my job now as an underwater worker. Ooh, you filthy scuba, I really envy you. Past job. I worked at a whorehouse. I was the receptionist. Guys would come and I'd buzz them in after confirmation of their appointment from the intercom, monsieur. They would enter, check it, get then a water or pop, take payment. Then it'd call the girl from the intercom and they would lead him to the room, monsieur. It is technically an adult massage parlor. I applied off Craigslist, went for the interview. Only real rule was receptionists cannot become escorts and escorts cannot after chose to be reception. Read this as warehouse, and was genuinely intrigued that the warehouse workers would need to buzz in and have their attendance confirmed. I'm one of 2 employees at a pet crematory. Sad face, important job, but I imagine it's emotionally difficult. I recently started working in a carrot factory. I stand at a conveyor belt as carrots roll past me and pick out all of the moldy ones. How did I end up in this job, you ask? I decided to do an arts degree and now have no career prospects. In all seriousness though, I work with a lot of migrant workers who work extremely hard doing a job they're accused of coming to this country and stealing. They are lovely people who take a lot of care while dealing with the food products, and they deserve all the respect in the world for continuing to work hard during the pandemic. I very nearly had the same job in a pineapple factory. I passed the interview and physical tests. Then they noticed I had kitchen experience and put me in the cafe instead. Then they learned I can't use an industrial coffee machine to save my life. So I got bumped over to the outlet store. I still met a lot of the process workers, many of whom were from the Philippines or Indonesia, and were lovely women, very practical, too. I used to do artificial insemination, an embryo transfer on cattle. I got it by being drunk at a party. Coolest job I ever had. Nothing like having your arm up a cow's vagina. My granddad did it for 35 years. It always wins weirdest job conversations for me. My mom knew someone who had a job as a chicken sexer. Good money apparently. He appeared on a program on TV years ago. No idea what it was called. Before my time. Where you had to guess what job someone had from them miming it. TV was weird back then, I guess. Mine isn't necessarily weird, but how I fell into it was. Around 10 years ago I was working in the IT industry. I decided to help my dad out one weekend sell hunting gear at a military expo. Basically antique military gear and army disposal. One of the sellers had a vampire killing kit. Knowing very little about antiques at the time, I pulled out each piece, checking them over. The story checked out. Did some research on my phone throughout the day and found out that it could be a fake in two ways. It could be a kit put together by someone out of antique pieces to make it seem real. And technically, even if it was authentic, it was a Victorian fake. With the fear of vampires in the late 19th century, con men put together vampire killing kits and sold them to rich businessmen visiting Europe. What stood out to me though was the main reason I bought it. In the middle of the kit was a crucifix with an ivory inlay that doubled as a goddamn percussion pistol. Long story short, I took a chance, spent $1,000 on it, and got persecuted by my father for such a dumb move. I didn't have much in my savings at the same. I took it to Ripley's, believe it or not, in Australia, and they flew someone out from the US to look at it, which was pretty exciting. Within 5 minutes of looking at it, they offered me a ridiculous sum of money for what I thought was a large investment to begin with. While in ways I do regret selling the kit, it allowed me to start a career in the antiques trade. 5 years later I moved to the UK to study a degree, and now I specialize in rare obscure antiques that have allowed me to travel all around the world sourcing new weird objects. Please don't worry. I gave my dad a cut of the vampire kit profits for believing in me. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.